What's up, comic book fans? Pete here from Comic Books Transformed, and it is time to talk about another Tomorrowverse movie. This is the second one. This is the 43rd DC animated original movie, Justice Society World War II. So, Brian, I wanted to ask you, in the comics, you're not like a huge Justice Society fan, right?
I actually have read a decent amount of Justice Society. Not recently, I guess, but back
Yeah.
in the day. God, who wrote it? What was it? Mark Waid? No, it wasn't Mark Waid. What run did I read? I don't remember.
Okay. It might have been Jeff Johns.
Could have been Jeff Johns. Yeah,
Yeah. It was like back in the day when we used to go to like, what do you call it, Jim Hanley's and stuff. Then I think it is
yeah.
the
It,
Jeff
it was
Johns one.
definitely recommended by you at the time when I did read it, but it has been a while. Like I'm familiar with all the characters. Like, because it felt like this doesn't really feel like this the right team almost.
Oh, the team that's in this movie.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it is, but like I guess there are other characters I more so associate with the Justice Society. Like obviously Jay Garrick is first and foremost, but like Alan Scott, Wildcat. I mean, we did have Hourman, and then there's plenty of other characters too.
Yeah. Hawkman and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, actually, yeah,
Um,
Hawkman's always there too. Yeah,
yeah. Well, it's funny because Brian and I were going to record Justice Society, and then we're going to make another video with Batman: The Long Halloween. And one of the points I was going to make is that it feels like these animated movies kind of like are inspired, or like they try to capture some of the live action stuff too. Like this one felt very inspired by the original Wonder Woman movie.
yeah, it definitely has the. They're obviously fighting a war in the middle of a war. I don't know. It's World War II because it's in the title. Duh.
Yeah,
But Wonder Woman was based in that was World War One though, wasn't it?
the first one, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a sequence in this one that's like almost the exact same sequence as like when she comes out of the trench and then like goes and attacks the Nazi, or they're not Nazis at that point, just German soldiers in that town.
Yeah.
It's like
Uh,
very similar.
yeah, it definitely felt like that, except this time she's leading, a team of superheroes rather than a team of soldiers. But yeah, it definitely had that feel.
Yeah. So we were just talking about like, if you like the Justice Society comics, and then we were talking about like the difference between the lineup and stuff. And it's got Hawkman. I think one of the major changes is that Black Canary's on this team, and all the people that are on the team in this movie are from like the original lineup, except for the guys that you mentioned before, and like the Spectre. But then like Superman and Batman were also on the Justice Society too back in the day.
Yeah.
So it's
Actually, I
like,
don't know if I've ever read anything with them on the team.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's all like comics from the golden age, and
Yeah.
for me, those are kind of hard comics to get through.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but I think like we're not used to seeing Black Canary on the team because like this would essentially be like Black Canary's mom, which like time wise, it'd be more like Black Canary's grandmother nowadays. But like the mom was on the original version of the Justice Society, and like in the comics that we've been reading for most of our lives, like Black Canary's just not connected to the Justice Society at all.
Yeah. But I do. I feel like when I was first introduced to Black Canary, like it was from the Justice Society.
Really?
I think so. Well, no, maybe it was Justice League. Not sure.
Yeah, she was on the Justice League a lot, and she even was like the leader when we kind of got back into comics. For me, it was like that, and then like Birds of Prey for
Yeah, Birds of Prey
Black Canary.
was well. Yeah, that too, of course.
Yeah. So this movie, if we go behind the scenes, it's directed by Jeff Wameter, like Wameter, and he did this movie. Then he also did the Justice League War World. There we go, which is like the last movie in this series so far. He also did Legion of Superheroes and Green Lantern: Beware My Power. So he's done a couple of these, right?
Yes, he's probably the lion's share here, really.
Right. And it's funny because like we had a little confusion when we were going to make these videos. Like I thought the third one was Legion of Superheroes, and I think it's because of the picture behind us. Like they're not, it's
Oh,
not in the right
okay.
order. Yeah. So after this one is Batman: The Long Halloween, and Brian and I are going to record a video for that too. But then Brian, let me just tell you real quick. the other people behind the camera. We got Jeremy Adams, who's one of the writers, and it's funny because like there's just certain people where their whole writing career is just adapting stuff like this. Like he did a whole bunch of Mortal Kombat Legends
Oh,
movies.
okay.
So are those like little like web movies or something that are real short? Have you ever watched any of those?
I think some of them might be, but some of them might be like feature length that were like, home straight to video, home video, or however
Yeah,
you say it these days.
right. Like the newest one is called like Mortal Kombat Legends Cage Match, and I think that's like a feature length one, right?
I'm not familiar with that title, but maybe.
Yeah. Then he's done like a Scooby Doo movie called The Sword and the Scoob. He worked on Young Justice, and then
Man,
he
what has Scooby Doo not done?
yeah. I mean, we could even say porn, but we clearly know that that's he has. He did another Mortal Kombat Legends called Snowblind. I'm guessing that's about Sub Zero. He worked on Young Justice, and he worked on that Green Lantern animated series too.
Which I've never watched. Did you ever watch that?
Yeah, it was really good.
All right, I might have to check that out.
Yeah. And then there's Megan Fitzmartin, who's the other writer, and she worked on Supernatural, and then they've also adapted Justice League and that like anime or whatever you want to call it. It's called Ruby.
Oh, Ruby, yeah, I'm familiar with it. The Rooster, is it no Machinima?
I think it is Rooster Teeth. I don't know, whatever. Yeah, it's one of those two. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember
the same thing for all I know.
yeah. Because like I put on Ruby once for my kids, like the original Ruby, which is like this weirdly put together stop motion kind of thing. And my kids were just cracking up just watching it. Because it's like so how do you put it? Like kind of amateurish and stuff, the original version of
Yeah,
it.
they were laughing at it like because it wasn't good, or was it legitimately funny?
It was like silly and stuff to
Silly,
them,
okay,
the
yeah.
way it looked. Yeah. Anyway, that's kind of a side tangent. Are you familiar with the voice cast in this?
Some. I mean, obviously we have Matt Bomer, who we're fond of from Doom Patrol as Flash,
Yep.
and Stana from is Wonder Woman, and I know her mainly from Castle.
Yeah. Did you know who Hawkman was though? This is kind of interesting little twist.
Yes. God, what is his name?
So
I
his name
definitely know him. He's a great character actor.
Omid Abtahi.
Yeah. God, what is he?
So he's actually Dr. Pershing on The Mandalorian, the guy with the
Yes,
glasses.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah. I would have never guessed that was him in a million years when I was watching this movie.
I mean, part of you when you see these characters and hear these voices, you kind of like thinking of the actor as like looking like the character, sort of,
Right.
or playing a type of that character. And I wouldn't normally say that actor would be like a bulky Hawkman type, but it works for me.
Yeah, he was really good. I think all the voice acting in this is really good, which is sort of par for the course for DC animated movies.
You know what though? I would throw I didn't kind of like Wonder Woman's like kind of faux Russian accent.
Oh,
I don't know. I just didn't see it. It just
Yeah.
I can't imagine how that works.
Yeah.
But other than that,
She was probably trying to do like a Greek accent, and it came out kind of like Russian.
yeah,
Yeah.
I guess.
Chris, man, it's so annoying doing these like recordings, and you're like, how the fuck do I pronounce this? But Chris
Diamantopoulos.
There you go. So do you know him then, huh?
I know the name. I can't remember. He's another one of those like character actors that are all over the place.
Okay.
That there's been in a million things, and I just can't remember what right now, unfortunately.
Right. He's Steve Trevor, and then Keith Ferguson is Dr. Fate. Matthew Mercer from Critical Role, he's our man. He's Rex Tyler. And then Leah McIntyre is Aquaman. And I figured that maybe you would recognize him because he's like Joe Phoenix in Gears of War. That's the main guy, right? In Gears of War?
No, Marcus Phoenix is the main guy in Gears of War.
Oh, whoops. But that guy actually played Weather Wizard on the live action Flash show.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh, he's JD Phoenix. Oh, he's the main character's son.
Oh,
okay,
whoops.
yeah.
That's my bad penmanship. I had it looked like J-O.
Yeah,
Whoops.
no, JD, yeah. He's the main character in Good War 4, and I believe he's in 5. I haven't gotten to 5 yet.
All right, and since I'm just listing actors that have, done voice acting in this movie, the one that plays Black Canary is Elsia Rotaru, and she actually was like on Arrow too. So
Really? Who was she in Arrow?
I don't know. I just saw a picture of her real quick. I think she was a vigilante of some kind. She was like maybe like another person, like another archer, or maybe she even was like a Black Canary. I don't know.
Huh, okay.
Yeah, man. So we got this voice cast, and we're big fans of Matt Bomer because we've watched so much Doom Patrol, and I think he's really great as the Flash. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought he does a really good job with Flash, yes.
Yeah, and it's one of those fish out of water stories, basically, where Flash is in the modern day. He runs so fast that he essentially runs back to what we think is the past, World War II. So here we're going to jump into spoilers, but essentially he's run to another Earth where it's instead of the Justice League, it's Justice Society.
Yeah, and we should also mention that in this kind of beginning framing device, he's having conversations with Iris, and this is kind of like, this was weird for me that the whole movie kind of revolves around Flash needing to like move forward in his relationship.
Yeah,
sort of, and he kind of learns a lesson from Wonder Woman, and also Superman is there, with the same actor from Man of Tomorrow, briefly.
Yes, and Brainiac.
Yes, of course, Brainiac. I gotta forget that.
Yeah, it kind of blew my mind that Brainiac was in it because I was like, oh man, wouldn't they introduce him like in his own movie? And then not only that, but then like they fucking shoot him in the head.
Yes, that was a little much. It's also weird. It's like we go from Man of Tomorrow, where
Right.
Superman doesn't know he's from Krypton,
Right.
and the next thing we see is Brainiac.
Right. Yeah. It's this big jump, and it's also established that like Superman and the Flash are friends, at least too.
Well, I didn't see that actually. I think that maybe they were aware of each other,
Okay,
but
aware of
had
each
not
other.
really met before.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I can see that
That's
too.
the kind of vibe I got, because it seems like they're by the end of the movie they're saying, oh, maybe we should team up.
Right. Maybe we should have sex. But anyway, um, it's funny because Flash runs so fast to try to save Superman's life because Brainiac has this kryptonite weapon, and then he goes back in time. And to me, I got these like Flashpoint vibes too. Did you get those watching this movie too?
Yeah, especially after you find out that it's an alternate Earth and not just going in the past.
Yeah.
Which is weird because they did Flashpoint, and we covered that, and that was kind of the start of the what's the acronym they use for that other universe, the prior universe, DC.
Like DC animated universe. I think it's just
something
real
like
simple.
that. Yeah.
Well, it's like Flashpoint a lot because it is that alternate timeline, like you're saying, and then like the person that we're following around is Flash, just like you do in Flashpoint, and then you meet sort of like counterparts to the regular DC people in this World War II setting. Then World War II kind of almost feels like this post-apocalyptic setting that is in a lot of Flashpoint. Then also Aquaman's in it, and Aquaman is bad. Spoilers. In this movie, which is very Flashpoint. Then you have like Aquaman
fighting Wonder Woman. Yeah.
right. So it really felt like Flashpoint a lot.
Yeah, I totally agree with that there. The one thing that the biggest complaint overall I had about this movie is that with the villains, the Nazi guy or whatever.
Yeah.
They don't name him at all.
The one that is manipulating Aquaman's mind, that guy?
Yeah. Do they ever call him anything?
No, they don't say his name, and I had to look him up. And in the credits, he's called the Advisor, right? Okay, and then he's actually Psycho Pirate.
Okay. Interesting.
Right.
See, to me, it's really weird that they would bury that in there,
Yeah. I agree. I agree. I thought there's a guy in DC that kind of has like his brain showing. He has like a little glass dome and his brain showing, and his name is like Simon, but it's like Psimon.
Yeah,
I
I
thought
remember
that
him from Young Justice.
right. I was thinking that maybe it was him because it had to be somebody that could like control your thoughts or whatever. But it's Psycho Pirate, and I think he just basically like controls your emotions for the most part, like
Yeah,
enhances
it does
them.
seem like that because it seems like when Aquaman kind of comes out of it briefly, he's like he's fully aware of what he did and he's like horrified of it. So
Yeah.
I think it is some kind of manipulation of emotions there, but that makes sense that it's Psycho Pirate. But I consider that a flaw of this movie that they didn't you kind of like it's an afterthought, you know?
Yeah, it is weird that like the story takes place where they're in World War II and they're basically just trying to like defeat the Nazis, and they have this idea that the Nazis are sort of like the Nazis have bigger ambitions, like they want to like get certain weapons and stuff. And for the beginning of the movie, it's just like sort of fighting this, Nazi force that doesn't really have a face to it. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, but Aquaman is here, and then oh, Aquaman is evil and manipulated by this guy. So like I didn't see that coming, but I think it's because there really isn't any kind of like main antagonist at first. Then all of a sudden it's like a third act antagonist, and it's not what you're expecting.
Yeah. And then there were also kaiju.
Right. And even that, like, I keep saying how like these movies seem to tie in with the live action movies. The main monster that comes out is kind of like the thing that Aquaman rides in the live action movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we were talking about Jeff Johns before. Did you read his Aquaman stuff? I think it was like his New 52 Aquaman stuff.
I probably read the first trade and that was it. The only thing I can tell you I remember from it is him in like a bar like ordering fish.
Oh my
That's
god.
the only thing I remember about it though.
Wow, yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Did you ever read any of those like little kid DC books to your son? Like they're like
Probably,
little.
yeah.
Okay. Have you ever read the Aquaman one?
Maybe.
Okay. In the Aquaman one, there's like his little pet octopus, Topo, and like the Justice League come to meet Aquaman and Mera, and then like Topo's on his chair and he's like, Topo, off the chair. Yeah. I guess it's not ringing a bell.
No, it's not.
Okay. I just always remember reading that book to my kid and always being like laughing at myself when he's like, Topo off the chair. But like Topo in the Jeff Johns run is kind of like that big kaiju creature that's in both of these movies.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So it's not like this cute little octopus thing, it's this kaiju monster. So I think that's kind of what they're going for with this. Did you notice that like the Nazi soldiers just like all seem to have like the same face?
Yeah. The same face, the same helmet. I mean, obviously they have the same symbol. That makes sense, but it's not quite the Nazi symbol because he can't do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a typical animation thing. I think you have the villainous force is always this kind of like scary looking thing, and usually it's some kind of mask or something like that stands out. But here, yes, all the faces do look very similar.
And what I actually appreciated was that they went with full on Nazis in this. Well, that's a crazy sentence. I'm not going to cut that out and put it on TikTok or anything. But like they put actual Nazis in World War II versus what they did with Captain America, the First Avenger, where it's like it's essentially Hydra, and so they don't have any of that Nazi symbolism. Because like when we were growing up and we would watch like Raiders of the Lost Ark or other movies of that time, you would see the swastika all the time and that iconography, and it was just like, oh, those are the bad guys, right? But nowadays, with our fucking crazy political climate and stuff, and the idea that like there's a Nazi movement rising up in our own country, when you see the swastika now on a movie, it feels weird. It's like, oh, hey,
Yeah,
why don't you touch that one now?
I also think it's really weird that we're so used to seeing that symbol from when we were younger, and
Right.
how it was just like it was just associated with bad guys, and then when you get older, you think of like, holy shit, like that was like a real thing.
Yep.
And I think that's probably part of the reason why they don't do that. Is that you don't I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say. Like you just don't want to realize that was something that happened. I guess.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, it's crazy because to me, when I think about World War II is like the craziest fucking time in history as far as I could think. It's just like all these things that are like these incredible, crazy, almost comic book like things are all happening at the same time in different parts of the country, or I'm sorry, in different parts of the world, at once. There's so many movies that are set during World War II, and they have like vastly different settings, but it's like that's all happening at the same time. You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
fucking crazy. Which is like it was. That's why it was smart to make the movie in this setting for this.
yeah.
Um. So, what did you think of the Justice Society team that was in World War II?
Again, like I go back to my initial statement earlier on. Like I feel like um, this it was a very curated list, and it's not exactly the team that I would have chosen. To me, I can't see the Justice Society without Alan Scott. You know,
Yeah.
like to me, that's him and Jay Garrick are like the poster children for the Justice Society to me.
Right.
Um, and that was weird to me to not see that. But I mean, it's like you said, they're all really are regulars. I mean, we get Doctor Fate too. Sort of, he's not really on the team, but um, ultimately, like you look at those characters and like these are all mostly more recognizable characters, and then except Our Man. Like Our Man, he's like a stable classic, specifically Justice Society character to me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's funny that he's played by Matthew Mercer because I just never would have guessed. I
Yeah,
actually really like Our Man from the Justice Society comic because one of the things that the Justice Society comic by Jeff Johns did so well was the idea of like legacy and characters passing down their legacy. And there's
yep,
some really interesting stuff with like Our Man and then like his son who became Our Man too.
yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that he was going to die at one point because he kind of is that sort of unrecognizable character. And he does like get shot, I think, at one point, but
I
he,
think he gets shot in the leg or something like that.
yeah, yeah. Steve Trevor dies, but we've already said spoilers. And then Hawkman dies. And it kind of makes sense for Hawkman to die because Hawkman like kind of dies
That's
and
the
gets
thing.
reborn all the time. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. This like super convoluted backstory. Were any of those a surprise to you?
Yeah, I'm surprised they killed anybody, honestly. You know, seeing Steve Trevor die, as the like kind of traditional Wonder Woman love interest character, that was surprising. And I guess Hawkman was less surprising, and I would have definitely pegged Our Man as the one to go, as the kind of lesser known name out of everybody there.
Right.
Um, and then also, I kind of got a vibe that there was like a budding relationship between Black Canary and Hawkman, which is weird to me.
Agreed on both points. Right, right. Because we're just so used to Hawkman being with Hawkwoman. When he dies, I think he says like, "Shiera, I'm coming for you," or "I'll see you
Yeah,
soon," or something. Right?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, Black Widow. I'm sorry, Black Widow. Black Canary is like super upset when he dies. Like she's very upset to where like her scream is like super amplified to where she screams at one of the kaiju that it's attacking and just like essentially disintegrates it.
yeah,
Right? That was
yeah.
actually really cool.
Mhm.
So the speedster stuff is actually a lot of fun too. There's this one part when they're on one of Aquaman's ships, and Barry Allen goes up to one of the guards, and he just like punches the guard in the face really fast. Like that was like
Yeah,
my favorite part in the whole movie.
yeah. He does that like pile driver fist thing to break the glass on his face.
Yeah, and the guy just kind of falls down. He's like, oh, like after getting punched in the face so much. I love that.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite part. But just like the way that him and Jay interact is like really interesting. And Jay isn't super friendly with Barry at first.
No, I don't think so. But they warm up to each other and they kind of teach each other some new tricks, which I found interesting. Usually, it's like when you see the two of them together, it's always depicted as Flash being like vastly superior and faster than Jay
Right.
was. But here, it was a nice change of pace to see that Jay, wasn't that way. He wasn't inferior completely.
Yeah, yeah. Well, because they kind of do this thing where Barry can't run as fast, like he's losing his power too. Like, did you understand that?
Yeah, my understanding, the way I took it was that the Speed Force can only be used by like one person, and it's like it's a fixed amount, and then they were both kind of sharing it because they were both there, so
Yeah.
they were both diminished in that. Yeah, I guess 50%.
Yeah. See, I like that. I like when you kind of make the Speed Force not as powerful and that there's certain rules and stuff versus like you just do whatever the fuck you want,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. So were there highlights for this movie for you? Were there certain things where you're like, oh, I really like this movie?
Um, I don't think I like this movie as much as Superman, the
Okay.
Life of Mine.
Okay.
And it's because of the things like I mentioned before. Like I feel like the villain was very underdeveloped. I mean, I guess they're just kind of using Nazis in general as the motivation for
Yeah.
the villain, which I guess makes sense. But and I also was very, I didn't like how they used Superman in this.
Oh, yeah. We didn't even talk about that. Good. Good. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
So Superman is he's just kind of traveling around with this group of superheroes here as like a reporter who they call Shakespeare,
Shakespeare. Right. 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 Right.
and he's just kind of like not interested in helping really. He just wants to like report about it and not help. And I was like, why? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like it's a really like like unbelievable kind of statement he makes about it. Is like, I just want to report about it and tell people. And I don't want to get involved, but why?
Yeah.
Like, what is reporting about it? You're telling the world about it, so to raise awareness, which is getting involved. So why not just do something as well? Like
Yeah. That's
and
a really go ahead.
and then the whole it was very much a red herring with there with the when you still thought it was the past, and then you see somebody hand him the like the costume in a package, and it was very confusing to me, honestly. And then he just shows up. He goes through this whole life with his one mentality, and then he just randomly shows up saying, "Oh, I changed my mind. I'm involved now."
Yeah, it is
And,
true.
and he also has time to shave off his mustache in between that.
Yes, well, he does that thing with his heat vision where he's just like probably like into a mirror.
Mirror.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree with you on that. That he just kind of shows up and it's like, oh, I guess I changed my mind. But when he shows up, it's actually really cool. They have all those like Nazi planes coming to America, and then he just like goes through them all, sort of like Captain Marvel.
Do you remember I don't know what they're called at this point. The really, really old Superman cartoons. Like probably like the first Superman animated thing that ever was. It is
Oh,
basically Superman like fighting some like mad scientist, and there's all these like Nazi planes and all this, and he's just blowing them up. That I got that vibe from that, and I really took it. That was a scene I would say I enjoyed actually visually
yes.
and for nostalgia reasons. But him showing up out of nowhere and then also removing the mustache in between was weird to me.
Well, you are 1,000% on the money. They absolutely did that sequence like those old animated cartoons, and they always say like it's like Fleischberg or something, but it's like the name of the guy that created that show. It's something
Yeah.
like that. But what's interesting about that Superman, and yet again, this is another Flashpoint feeling thing because in Flashpoint, that Superman is like essentially off the table because he crash landed in Metropolis and he's underground. And he doesn't really have his powers. In this, it's I think it's implied that like Clark's parents, his adopted parents, died in like the Great Depression, and then he
Yeah,
was
they
like
say he
taken in
died
as
when
a
Clark was like 2 or 3. It is Ma and Pa Kent
right.
and Jonathan Martha Kent, and he said they died when he was like 2 or 3.
Yeah, they died, and then he I guess was like adopted or he's in foster homes, and it sort of made him like bitter. And I think that's why he doesn't become Superman is because he's just had like a rough life, and he's just decided not to use his powers.
But
I
he's
guess.
still there, following around this team of superheroes, and he's like, my priority is to get this guy out of here, and like, so why isn't your priority to save everybody then?
Yeah, yeah. No, I get it. There's some faulty logic there. It's funny because when we recorded last week, I kind of spoiled for you that Superman was in this movie, and I could have gone full blown and been like, well, he's actually in the past, and it's actually another reality. But like, luckily, there's this sort of bookend part to this movie too with the regular Superman.
Yes.
So then I'm assuming that this Justice Society Superman and the Justice League Superman are going to interact in that Crisis on Infinite Earths movie that's coming.
I'm gonna imagine, and I think if they don't show up again, it's gonna make this feel like a weird empty spot here that with a lot of unresolved things. So
Yeah.
I do fully expect this reality to show back up in the Crisis on Infinite Earths, which I think is a trilogy of movies, or
I think it's 2, but we could look
two.
that
Okay.
up too. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I thought this was fun. I thought this had some great moments. I actually really like when like Aquaman was evil and fighting the rest of the team. I thought that the Atlanteans looked really cool, like the design of their costumes, and they were kind of
Yep.
scary when they were attacking.
Definitely
Um,
scary. Yeah.
yeah, and I just really like Matt Bomer a lot, and I liked him as Barry. So, I mean, I definitely recommend this movie. I'm enjoying this universe in general.
Yeah. Definitely. I'm enjoying the universe. Like I said though, I would rank Man of Tomorrow over this so far.
So far, yeah, yeah. Hey, I mean, we're doing them so slowly. We might as well just rank all of them while we're doing them.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, speaking of which, Brian and I have to go record our Batman Long Halloween review. So we're gonna leave this review, and then I'm gonna awkwardly start us over again. But until then, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you want to hear some more Tomorrowverse reviews, make sure you subscribe to our channel. And Brian and I will see you guys real soon.